Chapter 5, In a Sorry State. After 1 month of frenetic reading, I come to the conclusion, with immense relief, the phenomenology is a fraud. In the same way that cathedrals have always aroused in me the sensation of extreme lightheadedness one often feels in the presence of man-made tributes to the glory of something that does not exist, phenomenology has tested to the extreme my ability to believe that so much intelligence could have gone to serve so futile an undertaking. As this is already the month of November, there are no cherry plums available. At times like this, therefore, 11 months a year, in actual fact, I have to make do with dark chocolate, 70%. But I know in advance the outcome of the test. Had I but the leisure to bite into the standard meter, I would slap myself noisily on the thighs while reading, in such delightful chapters as uncovering the final sense of science by becoming immersed in science qua nomadic phenomenon, or the problems constituting the transcendental ego, might even cause me to die of laughter, a blow straight to the heart as I sit slumped in my plush armchair with plum juice or thin driblets of chocolate oozing from the corners of my mouth. When you set out to deal with phenomenology, you have to be aware of the fact that it boils down to 2 questions. What is the nature of human consciousness? What do we know of the world? Let's start with the first question. For millennia now, by way of know thyself, or to I think, therefore I am, mankind has been rambling on about the ridiculous human prerogative that is our consciousness of our own existence, and above all, the ability of this consciousness to make itself its own object. When something itches, a man scratches and is aware that he is scratching. If you ask him, "What are you doing?" he'll reply, "I'm scratching myself." If you push your questioning a bit further, "Are you aware that you are conscious of the fact that you are scratching yourself?" he will again reply, "Yes," thus ad infinitum, to as many "are you aware" in conscious questions as you wish. Does this, however, leave man with any less of an itch to know that he is scratching, and he is aware of it? Can reflective consciousness have a beneficial influence on the order of the itching? Nay, not in the slightest. Knowing that it itches, and being conscious of the fact that one is conscious of knowing it, has absolutely no effect on the fact of the itching. As an added handicap, one must endure the lucidity that results from this wretched condition, and I would wager 10 pounds of cherry plums that such lucidity merely serves to exacerbate an unpleasant condition which my cat, for example, can eliminate with a quick flick or two of his rear paw. But it seems so extraordinary to us. No other animal is capable of this, and this way we escape our own animal nature, that as human beings we are able to know that we are in the process of scratching ourselves. This preeminence of human consciousness seems to many to be the manifestation of something divine, that is able to escape the cold determinism in us to which all physical things are subject. All of phenomenology is founded on this certainty. Our reflective consciousness, the sign of our ontological dignity, is the only entity we have that is worth studying, for it saves us from biological determinism. No one seems to be aware of the fact that, since we are animals, subject to the cold determinism of physical things, all of the foregoing is null and void. Chapter 6, Homespun Cowls. Which brings us to the second question. What do we know of the world? Idealists like Kant have an answer to this question. What do they answer? They answer, not a great deal. Transcendental idealism holds that we can know only that which appears to our consciousness, that semi-divine entity that rescues us from our animal self. What we know of the world is what our consciousness can say about it, because of what it has perceived and nothing else. Let us take an example at random. A sweet cat by the name of Leo. Why? Because I find it easier with a cat. And let me ask you, how can you be certain that it really is a cat? And likewise, how can you even know what a cat is? A healthy reply would consist in emphasizing the fact that your perception of the animal complemented by a few conceptual and linguistic mechanisms, has enabled you to constitute your knowledge. But the response of the transcendental idealist would be to illustrate how impossible it is to know whether what we perceive and conceive of as a cat, if that which appears to our consciousness as a cat, is actually true to what the cat is in its deepest being. It may well be that my cat, at present I perceive him as an obese quadruped with quivering whiskers, and I have filed him away in my mind as a drawer labeled cat, is an actual fact, and in his very essence a blob of green sticky stuff that does not meow. My senses, however, have been fashioned in such a way that this is not apparent to me, and the revolting blob of green sticky stuff, deceiving both my disgust and my earnest trust, is masquerading before my consciousness beneath the appearance of a silky and gluttonous house pet. So much for Kantian idealism. What we know of the world is only the idea that our consciousness forms of it. But there is an even more depressing theory than that one. A theory that offers a prospect even more terrifying than that of innocently caressing a lump of green drool, or dropping our toast every morning into a pustular abyss we had mistaken for a toaster. There is the idealism of Edmund Husserl, which as far as I'm concerned now signifies designer label Homespun Cowls for wayward monks sidetracked by some obscure schism in the Baptist church. According to Husserl's theory, all that exists is a perception of the cat. And the cat itself, well, we can just do without it. Bye-bye, kitty. Who needs a cat? What cat? Henceforth, philosophy will claim the right to wallow exclusively in the weakness of pure mind. The world is an inaccessible reality, and any effort to try to know it is futile. What do we know of the world? Nothing, as all knowledge is merely reflective consciousness exploring its own self. The world, therefore, can merely go to the devil. This is phenomenology, the science of that which appears to our consciousness. How does a phenomenologist spend his day? He gets up, fully conscious as he takes his shower that he is merely soaping a body whose existence has no foundation. Then he wolfs down a few slices of toast and jam that have been nihilized, slips on some clothes that are the equivalent of an empty set of parentheses, heads for his office, and then snatches up a cat. It matters little to our phenomenologists whether the cat exists or does not exist, or even what the cat is in its very essence. The indemonstrable does not interest him. What cannot be denied, however, is that a cat appeared to his consciousness, and it is this act of appearing that is of concern to our good fellow. And what is more, an act of appearing that is quite complex. The fact that one can explain in detail the way in which one's consciousness perceives a thing whose very existence is a matter of indifference is simply extraordinary. Did you know that our consciousness does not perceive things right off the bat, but performs a complicated series of operations of synthesis, which, by means of successive profiling, introduce our senses objects as diverse as, for example, a cat, a broom, or a fly swatter? And God knows, isn't that useful? Have you ever wondered why it is that you can observe your cat and know at the same time what he looks like from the front, behind, above, and below, even though at the present moment you are perceiving him only from the front? It must be that your consciousness, without your even realizing it, has been synthesizing multiple perceptions of your cat from every possible angle, and has ended up creating this integral image of the cat that your sight at that moment could never give you. And the same is true for the fly swatter, which you will only ever perceive from one direction, even though you can visualize it in its entirety in your mind. And, oh miracle, you know perfectly well, without even turning it over, how it is made on the other side. You will agree that such knowledge is quite useful. We can't imagine Manuela using a fly swatter without immediately rallying the knowledge that she has of the various stages of profiling necessary to her perception. Moreover, you can't imagine Manuela using a fly swatter for the simple reason there are never any flies in rich people's apartments. Neither flies, nor pox, nor bad smells, nor family secrets. In rich people's apartments, everything is clean, smooth, healthy, and consequently safe from the tyranny of fly swatters and public opprobrium. But enough of phenomenology. It is nothing more than the solitary, endless monologue of consciousness, a hardcore autism that no real cat would ever